So, we kicked things off in Adelaide first thing in the morning. There were 4 of us packed into the car, and the plan for day 1 was pretty ambitious. We wanted to push all the way to Coober Pedy by nightfall. It's a massive stretch of road, roughly 850 kilometres ahead of us. These first few hours of the drive toward the Red Centre really set the mood for the whole holiday. Our first real stop was Lake Bumbunga, and honestly, seeing this place in person is wild. It's this massive, vibrant pink salt lake that looks like something from another planet. We had to get the drone up to really capture the scale of it. The water gets that crazy pink color because of the high salinity mixed with specific algae and bacteria that react to the sunlight. It was the perfect spot to stretch our legs and take in some of that unique South Australian scenery before heading further north. After the lake, we got back on the road and tracked toward Port Augusta for a lunch break. By the time we pulled into town, we had knocked out about 300 kilometers from Adelaide, which took us roughly 3 to 3.5 hours with our stops along the way. We found a local pub and grabbed a proper feed to refill. It's a classic spot to stop because Port Augusta is essentially the gateway to the Outback. Once we left here, the scenery started to change properly, and we realized just how remote things were about to get. Leaving Port Augusta, we hit the Stuart Highway for the long stretch to Coober Pedy. We were treated to some absolutely beautiful sunset views across the plains. But by the time we actually pulled into town, it was pitch black. Coober Pedy is world famous as the opal capital of the world. It's where most of the world's gem quality opals come from. We stayed in one of the most famous underground motels, which was such a unique experience. Most of the town lives underground in these dugouts to escape the extreme outback heat. It stays a steady temperature in there all year round. Honestly though, we were so exhausted from the massive day on the road that we didn't see much of the town that night. We didn't do any opal hunting or sightseeing. We just grabbed some sleep early because we had another huge day of driving ahead of us tomorrow. The next morning, we were back on the Stuart Highway early to make some tracks. It's about 400 kilometers from Coober Pedy to the Northern Territory border, which took us roughly 4 to 4.5 hours of driving. Crossing that border was such a huge milestone for us. It really felt like we were officially deep into the Red Centre now. From here, the adventure only gets better. After crossing the border, we drove about another 100 kilometers, roughly an hour or so, before we reached the Ghan area and hit Uluru. It's a great service area where we stopped to stretch our legs and even hand-fed the emus at the enclosure there. We also stocked up on some essentials at the roadhouse. If you're heading this way, fly nets are an absolute must. We spotted this massive rock and totally thought it was Uluru, so we pulled over for a quick break. But after looking closer, we realized it's actually Mount Kata, the famous Fool-uru. We finally arrived at Ayers Rock Resort and checked into our accommodation, which we had booked ahead through their website. After parking the car, we headed straight to the reception to get our bearings. The staff were great. They gave us all the essential info from sunrise and sunset timings to how to pay our national park fees. We mapped out the best viewing areas. We checked into our cabin located right at the campground. It was actually perfect for the 4 of us. 2 bedrooms with a double bed and 4 bunk beds. So we had plenty of space. After resting up for a bit in the cabin, we headed out for a stroll through the town center. It was only about a 10-minute walk from our resort area. We spent some time wandering through a local art gallery, which was a great way to soak in some of the local culture and history. As the afternoon rolled on, we made the drive out for our very first Uluru sunset. As the sun went down, the way the rock shifted through those glowing reds and purples was honestly one of the most beautiful things we have ever seen. Seeing Uluru in person is incredible. It's world famous not just because it's a massive sandstone monolith, but because it's deeply sacred to the Anangu people. After the sunset, we headed back to the resort, parked the car, and hopped onto the Field of Light shuttle. We booked the general entry, which was $48 each, that covers the shuttle to and from the site plus the experience itself. Our guide explained that this massive installation called Tjuta Nyakuchaku was created by artist Bruce Munro. It's made up of 50,000 frosted glass spheres that light up like a sea of colors in the desert. We were up early the next morning and rode straight to the Uluru Base walk area for our sunrise bike tour. We had pre-booked the bikes, and honestly, it was the best decision we made. The full loop is 10.6 kilometers, so having wheels made the whole distance feel like a breeze. Before we set off, we spent some time getting ready, slapping on the sunscreen, and getting our helmets fitted. The team there gave us a proper briefing on the do's and don'ts. The whole experience was 3 hours, from 7 am to 10 am. Starting that early was a game changer because we beat the intense outback sun and enjoyed the cool morning air. The track itself is incredible. It's mostly flat and takes you right up close to the textures and caves of the rock. Having the bikes meant we could just pull over whenever we wanted, park up, and explore the different waterholes and ancient rock art at our own pace. Later that afternoon, we made the drive out to Tjuta. It's about 50 kilometers from Ayers Rock Resort, which took us roughly 45 minutes. And those clips from the drive really show just how massive these structures are as you approach them. Tjuta means many heads in the local language, and it's made up of 36 massive domes, while Uluru is one giant monolith. Tjuta is a collection of these rounded rock formations that are incredibly sacred to the Anangu people. We decided to do the Walpa Gorge Walk, which is the shorter, more accessible track in the area. It's a 2.6 kilometer return trip that took us about an hour to complete. Walking between those two towering sheer walls is a pretty intense experience. You really feel small compared to the scale of the rocks. Even though it was a shorter walk, the views looking back out toward the desert from inside the gorge were absolutely stunning. After finishing our walk, we headed over the Tjuta sunset viewing area to watch the day come to an end. It's a bit of a different experience compared to the Uluru sunset because you are watching the light hit those 36 different domes all at once. As the sun dipped lower, the rocks turned this intense, glowing orange that almost looked fake. For our last night, we headed over to the Outback Hotel for a proper DIY barbecue. We decided to be a bit adventurous and tried some of the local Outback meats, including kangaroo, emu, and even camel. It was definitely something new for us. Seeing the silhouette of Uluru slowly glowing as the desert woke up was amazing. It was the perfect, quiet way to say goodbye to this incredible place before we started the long journey back home. This trip has been such a massive adventure for the four of us, and honestly, we are already thinking about the next one.